Greetings. You know, I'm sitting here tonight, just finished up with our prayer meeting. Um, we had about 4 or 5 come tonight, but our goal was for everyone tonight in our congregation that wherever they were, at home, work, wherever they were able, at 6 o'clock tonight to pray. Because we believe the greatest weapon we have against this enemy that we're facing in our lives today, this virus that's been the driving force of the media and churches and our culture and our communities. And we believe the greatest weapon is prayer. We've been praying. We're praying that God would heal, deliver, set the captive free. We're praying that for our not only our church staff and our congregation, but we're praying for our community leaders. We're praying for our healthcare professionals because we understand that probably the front lines of fighting this virus is our healthcare professionals, and they get up every day and they go to work. They go to face everything they face. Even in the midst of coronavirus, they're still dealing with flu 1A and B and strep and cancer and blood disorders. They're dealing with all kinds of sicknesses, and so they have so much to do, and they can't live in fear. They have to go to work. And so we as a church, our job's to pray. Our job is to be the lighthouse in this community. Had an elder in our church, a lady that's been a part of the Church of God for 65, 66 years. And she said something to me today. She said, "Pastor, the Church of God has to always be." And she told me her testimony, how that God got her from West Virginia to Sand Mountain, and how that the Church of God was a light to her. You know, that's what the church is. Whether we're Baptist or Methodist or Independent, Church of God, if we preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, then we are a lighthouse to our communities and to the world. And it's in times like this that people look to the church. What are we going to do? How are we going to react? Are we going to practice what we preach? Are we still believing that we are a church that can lay hands on the sick and they shall recover? Are we going to be the church that stands up in these last days and preaches hope in the midst of hopelessness and chaos? And many people have questioned. A lot of you, the membership of the Rainsville Church and friends of the Rainsville Church of God, many of you have questions. What are we going to do? And we know that churches are closing. We know the president has given a mandate of no more than 10 at a gathering. The CDC is telling us 50. And it seems like, as we know, this is a fluid situation. It's changing every hour. There's a new piece of information. And I had the privilege this Friday and Saturday. I went on a road trip with one of my best friends. He's a medical professional, and I got to learn a lot about viruses and this particular virus that we're facing. And I had a lot of insight in how it works and how that one of the most important parts of this is not only just someone who gets the virus, but a carrier of the virus. You could be a carrier of this and not have any symptoms. And of course, being transferred through the air. You know, we can clean our hands, we can clean our facilities, but you know, we're still going to breathe. And so a lot of people are wanting to know, what are we going to do? Well, today we've been in the Church of God's been in meetings. We've heard from our general overseer. We've heard from legal standpoints. And tomorrow there will be a meeting of our state leadership, I understand. And or in the next couple of days, there'll be a meeting of our state leadership. And because in times like this, we have responsibilities. Yes, we're a church. We have a responsibility to preach the gospel, and that's what we're going to do. But we also have responsibilities to our people and to our community. One of the greatest fears right now is if 200,000 people in this nation get sick with this virus, and you have under 100,000 ICU units and already hospitals. If you go to Huntsville Hospital, I'm in and out of hospitals all the time, and there's no room to park, there's no room to go. And so our medical professionals would be overwhelmed by such a great outbreak. And so we have responsibility. As leaders in our communities, we are responsible. And so as a pastor of this church, I am responsible. And so me and my leadership team, we have been meeting. We'll continue to meet this week and to see what's the best action to take. But here's something I want you to think about. I've been standing in this pulpit for over 3 years now, and I've been preaching that the church is more than a building. As a matter of fact, I've been challenging our congregation to don't just be the church on Sunday, but let's be the church 24/7. As we go out into highways and the hedges, we go out in our community, as we permeate our community, whether we're in the parts store or whether we're in the hardware store or we're in the restaurant or wherever we are, we have a responsibility to share the gospel, to be the church. You know, we don't just lay hands on the sick, pray for them in an altar. We can do it at Walmart, we can do it at Foodland, we can do it any place we are. And so it's very important. And I realize we also live in a time and a day where we have a lot of Facebook prophets, and a lot of times they can be critical. But not only are they sometimes critical, but they're also good for us. They challenge us as a church. They make us stop and think. And even though what we call aggravating and a critical spirit, a lot of times the church needs something like that to get us to wake up and say, hey, you know, there are people right outside our four walls that are dying and going to hell, and they're never going to come in our church doors. And so we here at the Rainsville Church of God believe in outreach. We believe in finding a need and meeting it and finding a hurt and healing it. And that's what we do. That's our mandate as a church. That's our vision, to go into all the world and preach this gospel to all creation. And so in fulfilling that, that is our mandate, to preach this gospel, to heal the sick, to pray, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And so whether we're gathering here on Sunday morning or whether we're gathering in some unique way where we have 50 here and 50 there and 25 here, I don't know. We're creative. We're smart people, and we come up with all kinds of ideas, and we're going to get creative in this. As a matter of fact, I think this is the finest hour for the church. And while people are sitting around waiting to see what we're going to do, well, we're going to be the church. So no matter what we have to do for a couple of weeks, whether or not we can have church on Sunday or whether or not we have to meet in our houses and we have people meet on Sunday in our houses, we've got technology, we can preach, we can teach. We have so many gifted ministers and preachers and teachers here in this church, and so we're not handicapped at all by anything we have to do. As a matter of fact, we have the greatest technology ever in human history to share this gospel. Right now, I'm standing here holding a telephone. And it's videoing me, and it's going out, and you're going to watch this video. So I just want you to know, Rainsville Church of God, we're praying, we're seeking God, we're using wisdom. We're taking all the knowledge we can get, and we're going to make a decision. There'll be more coming. And so I don't want you to worry. I don't want you to fear. Fear is the enemy. And I want you to understand that any decision we make, it's not based on fear. It's based on wisdom and what's best for the people of God, and how can we better serve our community. While school is out, a lot of children who is dependent upon the state feeding programs, our superintendent here in DeKalb County has already been meeting, and he sent out an all-call today talking about how there is action taking place where these children will not go without. And it is our responsibility as the church to team up with Mr. Barnett and his staff and to see what we can do. How can we help? So that's one of the ways we're going to enter into action. We're going to be meeting with our leaders. As a matter of fact, Wednesday morning, the pastors of Rainsville area of different denominations, we're coming together, and we're going to meet. We're going to put our heads together. How can we best serve our community in the midst of crisis? We've got to be ready for whatever. And so as we do not live in fear, but yet we stand up and face fear with action. And that action is the church moving and living as we become a real Acts 2 church, a church that really ministers to our community. This is not an inconvenience. This is not a time to panic. This is a time to get busy for Jesus Christ. We're not bound by walls and men's structure. Oh no. We're not bound by men's systems, and we're loose. We're free. For where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And so God gives wisdom to everyone that asks. And God's going to give us wisdom. And so I'm praying tonight, not only for the Rainsville Church of God, but I'm praying for this community here at Rainsville. This is my community. This is where I live. This is where my children are. And so we're praying for not only this community, but all of Sand Mountain, all of the world, all of the nation. We're believing tonight that God is going to rise up in the middle of this. I believe that as we pray, God is turning this disease. He's turning this virus. He's not only turning, he's bringing people to him. He's going to get glory out of this. We're going to make sure he gets the glory out of this. So don't fear, believe, have faith, keep the faith, keep loving people, keep loving God. Be blessed.